Hey there, guys. So, I have officially watched The War Between the Land and the Sea, which is the new spin off in the Whoniverse, the new Doctor Who spin off. And I just wanted to make this video, give you my thoughts on this 5-part limited series and what I think about it, and do I think it's going to lead to anything in the future, maybe, and just like my overall thoughts on it, to be honest. But yeah, I just want to get into it. This will be a spoiler review sort of thing. So if you haven't watched The War Between the Land and the Sea, then go back, go and watch it first, because I am going to be getting into some spoilers. Okay? Right, EO. Let's get into this. This is your last chance, guys. Spoilers ahead. Right. Okay, so The War Between the Land and Sea is obviously a new spin-off in the Doctor Who universe, the Whoniverse, and it is officially the end of like the Disney era of the Whoniverse as well, if you're thinking about it. So this was actually written and pitched like during like COVID times apparently as well. So this was like very early on, and this was like written and thought about like at the beginning of like the Disney era of like Doctor Who. So yeah, but it is mad to think that obviously, because we know that Doctor Who will be returning in Christmas 2026 for a new Christmas special. They obviously did release this in the UK to sort of like replace a Christmas special this year, I guess. That's how I think about it in my head sometimes. But if you live outside the UK, then you're going to have to wait till next year to watch it on Disney Plus, apparently. Because whatever happened between BBC and Disney did not go well. That's why you're getting it on Disney Plus later next year. So, yeah. Unless you just do what some people do, just get a VPN. I'm not promoting it, but I know some people do that. So, yeah, there is that. But other than that, that's just like my brief thought on that sort of situation. But yeah, but the actual story of this show, The War Between the Land and the Sea. So it basically begins with, because the show is basically about these two primary characters, Barclay and Salt. One of them is obviously a normal human that works for UNIT, who's like mistaken. He's in like put in the wrong place, wrong time, basically. It's that kind of situation. And then you've got Salt, who is like the new redesigned like Sea Devils. So yeah, but in this show, the term Sea Devil is like, it's like it's like being like rude or racist basically to them, basically. So they're called Aquakind basically, or Aqua Homo or Aquafemia. So yeah, there's different terms in that basically we find out from this civilization basically that emerged from the sea. So yeah, so we do get this information. So yeah, basically they go on a mission. It starts off where these fishermen find this sea devil or aqua homia, and basically unit gets sent in. Barclay's obviously one of them, and we do get the return of the general from unit, from Torchwood Children of Earth, which I was so glad to see. Like, I'm glad they're tying in like connections with Torchwood as well. But yeah, I'm glad they brought him back. And yeah, we see unit go investigate, and then basically these people stringed up this sea devil basically to the wall or the post. And the rest of the sea devils or aqua homia do come for the body eventually, and they do start communicating with UNIT, and then they basically announce themselves to the world, basically, as they start emerging everywhere in the oceans, the rivers, the lakes and that, like in all the major cities and that around the world. Like you see, like the whole planet is being affected by this, basically. So they've now announced themselves to the world. So yeah, so we do get a flash forward, obviously, into time where we do see some time has passed, and we're getting some negotiations being planned between Aquakind and humanity, basically, where they're meeting in London at the same building, which is the Imperial building in London, I think it's called. I believe it's called, but it's also the same building where they had the negotiations with the 456 in Children of Earth and Torchwood as well. And if you know anything about that building, when you have negotiations with another species or anything, it never goes well. And in the end of the story, it's always mankind or like the politicians or the governments that are to blame to what happens. And that is the case with like the whole story in the finale of this show. Like, the politicians and the governments are to blame, to be honest. Like, because I wasn't expecting it to end the way it ended, to be honest. But yeah, we obviously get these negotiations, and then we meet Salt, who's obviously the ambassador for Aquakind. So yeah, but she doesn't want to speak to some random politician that's been elected to negotiate. She wants to talk to Barclay because he was the only one that paid respect to their fallen comrade, where he paid respect, basically. So yeah, and then we also learn that he's now going to be the new ambassador, and they start negotiating, and we see different species of different Aquakind. Like, it's not just like sea devils and that. Like, you see like these giant fish. Like, yeah, it's pretty cool, to be fair. We do meet another ambassador in the future in a later episode called Tide as well, who's like a male sort of version of like Salt. And we do see Salt, when she gets angry, she can make herself into like a male, like a, I don't know, like I think they said like some species, like some animal creatures on the earth can like change between female and like male gender or something like that, I've seen, and they even mentioned it in this one episode. But yeah, so yeah, the negotiations aren't going well, and like mankind want to obviously change their ways and that, and then basically they want to have reduced like the pollution and that by a certain amount of time, but it's impossible to do with mankind, basically. So, and then they end up like chucking all the plastic and rubbish back into the cities of the world, which was absolutely crazy. Like, that was absolutely crazy. But then they do come to like a sort of armistice at the halfway point of the series, and then next time they want to meet for negotiations is on their turf, the ocean, basically. So we get this cool sequence where we get to see the general, Barclay, and a few other members of UNIT, and another couple like diplomatic ambassadors that have been elected to go with them. So they go down into like this sort of like submersive like ball thing, get dropped into the ocean, and then Aquakind basically pick them up, take them to their world, And I'm not gonna lie, it was actually really cool seeing their world. It was actually really cool seeing what their world looked like. To be fair, in like this sort of organic I don't want to say stadium, but like Colosseum or hall or something like that, and we see loads of Aquakind, and we shout out. We even in the background. I'll probably put an image on here at some point, but we get to see the original design of the Sea Devils. It's like a quick miss it, but you don't see it that long. Like I only noticed it when someone pointed it out on Twitter. To be fair, like, but that is such a cool Easter egg scene, like the original design of the Sea Devils. So I really liked that. To be honest, I was such a big fan when I saw that. But one of the diplomatics was actually a traitor because he had a gift for Aquakind, which was like a globe of the Earth. But I was a bit suspect on him. Like I thought there was something a bit suspect about him anyway, and it turns out it was a bomb. And then Barclay tries to save Salt and that, and it wipes out everyone, the unit team and the general and the Aquakind that were there. So yeah, that was absolutely mental. But at the same time, we had this other heartbreaking story because we get Kate Lethbridge Stewart in this show as well, and Shirley returning as well from UNIT, and Imbram as well, who had a bit of a connection with Kate, and they explore that relationship in this show because we saw that in Doctor Who, because he's been around since like the 50th anniversary, I believe. He's been around for, and he does pay the ultimate price in the end. He does sacrifice himself for Kate because basically the French and the Americans, military generals and the British Prime Minister and like this other guy, this billionaire like oil company, all plotting against like Aquakind because they need like his oil and that to make money, to make more money for the military and that, and more money for like the Prime Minister for his election and that. Like it's just politicians and generals being greedy basically. Like I'm not a big fan of politics, so I'm not like up in the air with like that sort of knowledge, but it is interesting seeing that. So they do put a hit on Kate, and he does push her out the way, but in the end he does take the bullet for her, which was quite sad, to be fair, because they were obviously together. We got to see that, but yeah, and it was quite sad seeing that, but that was like a gut-wrenching moment, to be honest, because he's been around for a long time, for a couple of years now in Doctor Who. So yeah, seeing a death like that did give me like flashbacks to Tortured Children of Earth, because that show wasn't afraid to like kill off very big characters. But yeah. So yeah, that episode was very gut wrenching, to be fair. But we do get to see Kate sort of like mourning him as well afterwards, seeing him like just like having PTSD and that, like just seeing him around the apartment or house, even when she was at work. And you could tell Kate in this show, she was given a lot more, because I did see this from the producers like Ross T. Davis and Pete McTighe, where they were talking about obviously in Doctor Who there's not a lot you can really do with Kate when she's in the room with the Doctor, but in this show she had a lot to do, I must admit. Like she, like spoilers, like she like blackmailed her therapist in the finale, which is absolutely mental. because they were threatening to like discharge her, like, or like put on like leave for a while. But yeah, and even like the end credit scene, I mean, yeah, that was mental. I'll come back to the end credit scene with Kate, but yeah, Kate, even the scene where she's telling unit troops to target like British Army troops, which was absolutely crazy. That was probably like one of the best scenes I've probably seen in like Doctor Who or anything in this universe for a while. Like, I was really like excited when that scene came on, because I thought, alright, because this American general is commanding British troops, which he shouldn't be, even though he's got permission from the Prime Minister, but he shouldn't have the authority for that. But like, Kate is threatening him because obviously they're all trying to get Salt when they're on the bridge or whatever. But yeah, that moment was so cool. That was so ballsy as well. But yeah, that was such a good scene. But yeah, we'll come back to Kate in a minute, actually. But yeah, let's go back. So yeah, so in the last couple episodes, we do learn that they make this virus basically called Severance. Basically, the Prime Minister, the French general, and the American general made this project. And it's basically a virus that will wipe out like all of Aquakind, basically, or pretty much most of Aquakind. And it does get launched, and it turns out that Barclay and Salt were partially the reason of the virus, it seems. I think because, I don't know if it's because they are obviously, this is where people probably be a bit shocked, but they obviously do kiss, obviously, Barclay and Salt. I wasn't really surprised by that, because I thought that was going to happen between these two. But yeah. But yeah, anyway, they do make this virus, and it does wipe out most of Aquakind. Like, I think they said in the show, like, pretty much 90%. So I think there's only like 10% left of Aquakind, or Sea Devils, like, left on the Earth now, it seems. Unless there's more, like, maybe hibernating still somewhere, but we don't know if they are. Because there's obviously different colonies and that. Same with like the Silurians as well, like in Doctor Who, there's obviously different colonies and that. But yeah. Other than that though, yeah, because we do get this speech in the finale as well, where Salt does return with 2 Sea Devil guards or whatever, and gives this speech saying that mankind has won the war, basically, because this wasn't really like a proper war. It was kind of like a sort of like a cold sort of war, like, yeah, basically like that. And basically that Aquakind are terrified of mankind, and that they've buried their technology to the furthest depths of the earth now, it seems. So mankind cannot get their technology at all. So even though mankind won the war, did they really gain anything out of this? No, they didn't get any of their technology or anything. So yeah, there is that. So because of 3 individuals, those 2 generals and the Prime Minister, they all mugged it up. Just politicians for you, man. But yeah, I don't know. I do have a theory that technology, because they said they buried it like the deepest parts of the earth, could that potentially lead to maybe Silurians coming back, because obviously the Silurians live in like the center of the earth, I believe, and they're like the sister race to the Sea Devils that we learned in Doctor Who. But maybe that's an idea for like another spin-off in the future, but we'll see. I'm not saying Silurians show up in this, because they don't. Same with the Doctor. The Doctor doesn't show up, but yeah. But yeah, and then they basically leave the building, the room, the tank that they're obviously in, and then the tank starts cracking, and then it was basically going to flood the room. And I really wanted those politicians just to get flooded or drowned, to be honest. I was kind of hoping that, but we do get like a scene where those two generals and the Prime Minister will drown in like the car they're in, and the Prime Minister in the shower's like throwing up water, so they do get sort of gruesome deaths, I guess, in the end. But yeah, because they were going to use this thing called a cord as well, so discussed with Barclay, and it would have brought like both species together, and we didn't know what it meant. And UNIT were transmitting this signal to obviously try and bring all Aquakind to negotiate again, to see what this Accord thing was about, but they weren't answering. And then obviously we know why, was because the virus was released by mankind. So yeah, so it didn't really matter, but they do sort of reveal what it is in the end, and it basically leads to Barclay and Sol getting their happy ending in the end. So Kay takes Barclay back to the beach where he's been going to every night, trying to call for her. He gets in the water, and he grows gills, so he can swim with her. Yeah, because he promised her like, you won't swim alone, basically. So yeah. So I'm kind of glad that Barclay and Sol got their sort of happy ending. I'm glad about that. I thought it was a bit weird that he's just left his wife, I know it's his ex-wife, but he's just left his kid and his ex-wife. I did find that a bit weird, because like, oh, I'm going to go live with a fish in the sea now. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is, I guess. It's just how the show's written. But yeah. But yeah, I did find that a bit funny. But yeah, other than that, I really liked the dynamic between Salt and Barclay. I think that was probably one of the strongest things in this season. And like the prosthetics and the costumes and that and the makeup was absolutely amazing for like the Aquakind Sea Devils. So cool. UNIT in this is always great. I love seeing Kate Bagg, seeing Shirley again, and Imbram was cool. Even the general from Torchwood was cool, seeing him. I love the Torchwood Easter eggs in this. But the little couple nods to the Doctor, like, where is the Doctor? And the Doctor, Kate's just like, oh, I don't know, maybe he's having a holiday. I didn't really like that excuse, to be honest, because I kind of like what I've seen other people say online, like, when you go back to Torchwood, it's like what Gwen said in Torchwood, like, maybe the Doctor is ashamed of humanity sometimes, that's why he's not coming to help. And I do think that is the case with the Doctor sometimes. Like, he must look at mankind and is ashamed of them sometimes, to be honest. Because, like, if you just look at what happened with, like, Torchwood as well, with, like, the Children of Earth, with the 456, like, I can see why the Doctor would be ashamed. And I think the Doctor would be ashamed of what mankind did to Aquakind in this. I get that the Doctor can't always be on Earth. So obviously the next best thing is really UNIT to defend the Earth, but yeah. Other than that though, guys, I think the only other thing I've got to say about this spin-off, is I did enjoy it. If I had to rate it, I'd probably give it a 7 out of 10, to be honest. I really liked episode 1 and 2. Like, those were like phenomenal. Episode 3, oh my god. That was absolutely amazing. 4 I really liked as well. 5, the finale, I did enjoy it, but I wasn't as big as a fan as it. I felt like the finale was a bit weak, personally. So I'd probably give the finale maybe a 6 out of 10, to be honest. Yeah. But overall, I think the show is like a 7 out of 10, to be honest. I did really enjoy this spin-off. I'm looking forward to whatever they do in the future. The only thing I want to talk about now was the end credit scene with Kate. So, I do like Russell T Davies, but I think he needs to stop hyping up like the endings for like some of his shows and some of his episodes or whatever sometimes, because like he was making it out like it was going to be like a big thing. This end credit scene, like, I wish he didn't say there was an end credit scene, to be honest, because it was just like one of those like end credit scenes, like one of those gag end credit scenes basically. It's basically just of Kate Lethbridge Stewart after she dropped Barkley and left Barkley to swim off with Sol on the beach, and she's walking along the beach after the events of the show, and some guy is obviously just having a run. He's running down the beach. He's just chucked like a water bottle or something on the beach basically, and he's got his earphones in, and she's like, "Oh, can you stop? Like, can you like pick up the bottle?" And he's like, "Oh, what?" I was like, "Can you please pick up the bottle?" And he was just like, "Oh, why is that?" I was just like, "Can you just please pick it up?" Like, after like with what we've just gone through. And then he's just like, "Oh, why? What are you gonna do about it?" And then she ends up pulling her gun out and pointing it at him. "Can you please pick up the bottle?" And I thought to myself, that is quite funny. I did find it funny, but at the same time, I wish like Russell T Davies didn't hype this up as much, because I think a lot of people were expecting something, because he said that the Doctor wasn't going to show up, because he said that, but it felt like he was trying to hype up something that wasn't there basically, like, because I generally thought, okay, he's been hyping this up, so what could it be? Maybe it's like Kate, and like maybe like some sort of another spin-off with Unit, maybe, I don't know. Or it was just maybe the worst thing I was thinking, or like the most like interesting thing actually I was thinking in my head actually, was what if like a Silurians show up, because obviously they're like the sister race of the Sea Devils, and I thought, okay, so it's a war between the land and the sea, so you done the sea with the Sea Devils, and I know you got mankind for like the land, but what if the Silurians come out of the ground? Maybe, but I didn't think it was that. But yeah, it was just like a little gag, basically. But I just kind of wish he didn't really say this, hype it up as much, because I feel like a lot of people probably get a bit disappointed with that. But yeah, other than that, though, guys, that is the war between the land and the sea. So we haven't got anything to talk about now about Doctor Who or anything in the Whoniverse for a while now. Obviously, they will be filming the Christmas special soon. Presumably with Billie Piper as the Doctor, I'm guessing, or if maybe she's Bad Wolf or something else, or Rose. But yeah, that will be coming out Christmas 2026. But other than that, guys, I really enjoyed this show. I'll give it a 7 out of 10. Definitely a good watch. It seems like it had a really good viewership as well, this show. But yeah, this is the end of the Disney era of Doctor Who. So yeah, other than that, guys, I'm going to leave it with you. What are your thoughts about this show? Let me know down below, and leave a like on this video, and go subscribe to the channel, and go check out one of my other Whoniverse videos and one of my other videos for other topics on this channel, and I'll see you next time.